the Fill the Funnel podcast with Jeff Swan
and Tom Slocum.
We're here to help you crush your targets
with tactical tips and insights you can act on today.
Don't have a fancy tech stack, a big budget, or even a huge team to lean on?
Well, it's time to get that solved today with FTF Fridays.
All right, everybody. Well, our first topic for today is actually how difficult it is as an individual sales rep to get out there and get your prospects' attention. There's so many competing things that are taking prospects away from, responding to your email or picking up your phone call that you have to really find creative ways to do it. So, just like I said earlier, Tom, I'm sure you have tons of ideas on this. What do you think is going on in the world of sales and why it's so hard to win the war for attention?
It's getting harder on people, right? There's a higher demand for the way you build a relationship and how to capture somebody's attention. Before, years ago, you could throw out an email and, maybe not have to put too much effort into it and still get somebody to reach out to you. And now it's almost offensive, right? Now you see people getting called out for the war of attention and they're like, hey, don't send me this, right? Put something in here that tells me you did a little bit of research. And it's just crazy what the demand is coming and where we're building this new, outreach process that's got to be so formal and so personalized that the standards are just getting higher. And to get somebody's attention, it's getting a lot more aggressive.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's just everybody kind of switching to work from home last year. It kind of changed the way we get attention from people. In the past, if you can recall a webinar we did with SalesLoft a couple months ago, they were talking about how over the course of 2020, the response rates on your emails took a nosedive, and you could just see. Remember that chart that he put up on the screen? It just went from here to here to here to here to here, right? And so it doesn't seem like that trend is going to get any better, which is why you see things like Clubhouse and all this other stuff come up, because people are chomping at the bit to find new places to capture their prospects' attention.
Yeah, but that's what's so crazy, right? Is you got to own that. And that's what I do within, what we do in Rev League, right? And what we've been doing in our presence within these communities is stop copying what everybody else is doing and looking for that new fresh stuff. Be that person, create that fresh stuff that works for you and your lane. That's how you're going to capture the most attention. When you learn how to move without a crowd, your life changes forever. And you're able to learn those skills yourself and say, look, I'm going to write my own emails that represent my brand, who I am, and how I'm going to reach this person, not what this one email that's out on Google that every other rep is going to try to use. Yeah. You see the people that are winning the battle of attention are the ones that are being unique and personalized in their own brand. That's
true
who's
to
winning the war and attention.
True to themselves, right?
Correct. I used to copy dudes on my team that would crack jokes over the phone, and I look like an ass. The person on the other phone would be like, what is this? No, dude. Yeah. And my team would look at me funny, yo, that's not you, Tom. Don't do that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not the fun guy. I'm not the funny guy. Right.
It's not me. No.
So you have to play to that, and people read through that when you're doing that and you're trying to get the attention of your prospect. They want you to be you and genuinely care about what they're interested in. And if you have a solution to their problem, they'll genuinely give you that if you make that effort and they can see it's you, not this mail merge coming through that's been used by every single person.
Yeah, well, this is something I talk about all the time with my clients, is that when something becomes a quote unquote best practice, it means that so many people know about it because it's so popular that suddenly everybody's inbox looks the same. Right? I'm doing a webinar with Josh Braun. There's a webinar that's going on with Josh Braun. He sent me a tagline that basically said be a red X in a pile of circles or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but the concept is that you need to stand out. And if you're just copying a template that you get off of LinkedIn or somebody that sends you in an email campaign and then you're just adjusting it a little bit, to make it your own, I mean, you're not really going to stand out. You're just going to look like everybody else who's doing it, right? And so I think this is why that whole concept of like personalization is really evolving to that next level, where people aren't talking about personalization fields like hi Jeff, hi Tom at Rev Up, like whatever. Those aren't important. That type of personalization is table stakes. It's not even interesting anymore. The personalization we're talking about is actually knowing something about your customer and telling them something compelling that's relevant to what you already know they're caring about or are looking for right now.
Well, that's it, right? Like, it really came apparent to me in during the pandemic in 2020 and the outbound world is just 2 years ago, so many people were so busy. We were commuting, we were going to offices, we were buzzing, people moving and going, that your inbox just got overwhelmed after like 4 or 5 hours and you just didn't get to it. Or if you did get to it, you couldn't notice much of those red X's in those circles, right? Everything just kind of blurred and like you would get their attention. Where now we're stuck. Everybody's home, and most of them are, right? And you're getting a chance to, there is no stopping to working. So at some point during the day, you're getting in that inbox, and now you have that slow down pace that they're seeing 10 SDRs emails all have the same subject line. They could just click the filter button, right? And it all says, hey, John, free next Thursday. And that's every like 20 emails for them, right?
Filter these types of messages, right?
Right. And it's just, they could see that now because they've slowed down, right? We're all home now and work doesn't stop. Where before there was a hard cutoff, there was moving distractions that you could make those mistakes and almost still not be seen. Where now you're getting called out, man. Like, I see the inbox look the same from 5 different SDRs. Like, what are you doing? I could call you out now. I see it. I'm able to focus on that and see that. And so that's where you get into that personalization, is just be different, right? And Scott Leach posted today, right? Like, subject lines don't even matter. Why are we pouring into that? And most executives, when I went through a lot of the comments, he was right. They didn't care. They were like, I'm not opening an email because of your subject line, dude. Like, there's so many things that go into it that you're just, trying to get people's attention, and it sucks. We're in a really fast pace right now.
It's so funny you talk about subject lines, because 2 things. One, I get asked about subject lines all the time. I think you've even heard people ask me on our roundtables, right?
Yeah.
Jeff, what's the best subject line for an email? And I say, it depends. Wah, wah. Right? Nobody wants to hear that word, but it does depend.
Right.
And it, like, the subject line that works is the one that you should use. And the only way to figure that out is to do testing. Like,
dude, I had an email work one time that was called Magic Goggles. My FDRs from my old companies will tell you, and they will laugh when they hear this, because the email subject line just straight said Magic Goggles, and the email didn't have anything to do with the subject line. And by far to this date has been my best campaign numbers ever, because it was just so ridiculous. And they were like, dude, I'm not sending that. Like, no way, I'm not sending that. And I was like, all right, dude, like, don't. But it killed it for me. And it was just Magic Goggles.
Oh man, that's so funny, because my all-time most successful campaign was the subject line, can you give me a hand? This is when Cold Call 2.0 was like brand new. Okay. Nobody knew about it. Right. I was selling into industrial. So industrial, they had no freaking clue about any of the best practices or tactics or whatever out there. They're not reading Aaron Ross's book or, all these other things. Right. So I used to send this email. It was, can you give me a hand ? I'm trying to get in touch with the person responsible for reducing safety incidents at company.
That was your subject line?
No.
Oh.
Subject line was, can you give me a hand ?
Okay.
Body was, Tom, I'm trying to get in touch with the person responsible for reducing safety incidents at Kiewit Energy.
Yeah.
Is that you, or can you introduce me?
Ooh, that's powerful.
Boom. That's it. You know how, like, we got ridiculous response rates from that, just from an email. And I'm talking, these were people who were on the job site 90% of the time. Yeah. We still managed to get 20% response rates. This was back in like 2013.
Oh, that's been a minute.
Yeah. And these people, the prospects I was going into, they weren't even at their desks. They didn't look at their email on their phone frequently. Like, so it worked really well. And 9 times out of 10, it was like, no, I'm the right person. What do you want to talk about? We used to book like, we'd send out 100 messages. We'd book 8 to 10 meetings. Like, it was just ridiculous.
That email seems to be like one of the best in the market. I don't care when you put it in your cadence, and I'm assuming with your business, right, at RevUp and building a lot of these, you have that touch somewhere always in your cadence. I've never seen a cadence not have the referral portion of it. Like, oh, hey, is it you? Or, who could you introduce? But I like the way you worded it. Can you introduce me? I don't think, and you helped me right there because I've never practically used it that way, right? Like I said, can you refer me? But I think if you say, can you introduce me? That's powerful, right? And that's a great way to get their attention, because if I'm on the site and I see that, it almost looks like a business transaction. You've got this way of presenting it to them while they're looking at the phone, like, oh, hey, real quick, let me pull out my phone. Oh, Jeff just emailed me. Hey, are you the guy, or could you introduce me? I can respond real quick and be like, yeah, that's me. What can I do? Or yeah, I'll get back to that and I'll introduce him over there. So that's powerful.
Well, and this is the thing, is that was my all-time most successful campaign until recently, when I started really digging into what works. Like now, personally, I'm selling to sales VPs and business development people. These are people who are literally writing the books on these things. So it's like, if I'm selling to them, I can't use these tried and true tactics, right? Like Absolutely. I have to be creative with my outreach and do something actually different, right?
That's a great point, dude. I think we had a great conversation in Rev League just the other day with Justin, right, on an ABM program that was really cool. That he tried this holiday old-fashioned program to get the attention, right, of his prospects, and it was amazing. I think he said he targeted his top 10. Okay, put this campaign together, sent it out, got 6 responses, super easy, but it was different, right? I had talked to another guy, a buddy of mine, Jonathan Darling, and what they did at a company was Rocketbooks. They were sending out these Rocketbooks to people. And if you're not familiar with Rocketbook, it's a little plugin or it's a little thing on Amazon. They're these dry erase kind of like notebooks. So they're pre-page that comes with an ink pen that's erasable and writable. And then you can upload it to like Google Drive, Slack, whatever, and save it, and then erase the page and keep reusing the notebook. And it's amazing. $25, but it was relevant to his prospects because we all moved to remote. And the number one thing that's driven me nuts is I can't get my paper and pens no more, man. I used to go get sticky notes, like the Post-its, right? I can't do that no more. So you got to pay for notebooks, and it's not a big deal, but so this notebook's reusable.
It's those little things that if you know your customer, what's frustrating them. That's not necessarily relevant to you. Yeah, but it's relevant to them, right?
Yeah. So he solved this problem because everybody had this notebook issue. So these Rocketbooks, he put in, these programs and mailed them out to his people because he couldn't do alcohol, obviously, with corporate addresses forwarding on. But this was a way he found to be relevant and solve an easy fix for them right now, which is, hey, I'll give you this reusable notebook in exchange for something on a more deeper level of this problem I'm solving, right? So I think you just got to find ways to be a creative in this war of attention. And even companies like Netflix and Hulu and these guys are showing us how often they have to curate content and move because we have the attention span of 30 seconds. Like if you're not releasing a new movie every day, you're bored. I've seen all this stuff, right? Like Netflix is justifying price increases because they're going to start rolling out original movies once a week. Right. Because they come to that demand is that if you're not, producing stuff regularly, you're out. Like they're going to forget about you.
Oh, 100%. And so like when you look at how salespeople and marketers today are responding to this, is that they're just getting stronger at their content game. They're getting stronger at, you see so many really good salespeople these days doing daily videos. They're doing daily videos. They're popping on things like Clubhouse or just different creative ways to kind of get in front of their audience, right? And the content that's being produced in somebody's bedroom or, home office or whatever, it's so good. Like it's so good these days. And so when you're talking about winning that war of attention through content even, you really need to stand out. You need to do something different that other people aren't doing, right? Like, me, myself, I just invested a few $100s in production equipment to make sure that my videos at the very least look as professional as they can, because, just doing the talking head video on your phone, sure, that's okay right now. But everybody's stepping up their game, and I got to step up my game too.
The standards are getting crazy, and we're putting it on ourselves. The prospects are putting it on us, right? We're getting into a realm that you've got to own it. There is no more copy and playing. And I'm sorry to tell all you listeners, right, and our Rev League members, but you've really got to just start investing in what's strong for you and play to that. And make your content be consistent. The way you are on LinkedIn, the way you are in your voicemails and your emails, let that all bleed through and let it stay consistent, right? If I could tell you anything, show up in those places the same way. Remember what LinkedIn is used for, build a relationship there. Remember what email is used for, build a relationship there, and the same with the phone, right? We know how to live in these realms. Let's just be creative and find ways to own who you are and let that come through consistently in that cadence of touches that you're reaching out to your prospects.
So, Tom, those are really good points. And I think that's probably a pretty natural segue into wrapping up our show. And I think, in all honesty, I'd have to agree with you that the number one takeaway from winning an award of attention is not necessarily some fancy tactic or technology or training or anything like that. I think it really is understanding your personal story, how it relates to the company and the solution that you sell, and then the value you provide your customers. So it's not just enough to have a really hot product that has good value. It's about how you add value to the process, what you do to help the customer, become pique their curiosity, right? Learn something new, think differently about what they're doing in their day-to-day and how they go about solving problems that they have, or even prioritizing the problems that they have. And what I always do with my my clients is I try to teach them, when we're talking about top of the funnel, like on the Fill a Funnel podcast, you and I, Tom, we're dedicated to the top of the funnel, right? So, and that deals are won or lost in the early stages.
Yes.
Right. If you don't do good discovery, you get a no without even knowing what's going on. Right.
Well, the best way I would say is, it's like a rocket ship, right? The most important part when a rocket ship is getting ready to do its process, right, is that beginning point, right? That launch off. And that's what people got to remember is when you're filling your funnel, it's really important how the team around that launch to getting into the sales pipeline and filling the funnel, what all entails in that process, where you're handing off appropriately, you're taking the extra 5 minutes and jumping on the call with the AE to make a formal introduction, let the person know who they are, right? Yeah. All of those pieces are very, very important. And the way that you initially get that prospect's attention is important. It's going to start the whole process for you to potentially get this meeting for your company, all from that first initial outreach that we're just trying to run through as much as we can with no real creative juices, no real value. And I think at the end of the day, you just got to master your craft, care about it, be passionate about it, let you find your strengths, what those are, and tie your story to your company's story. You work for them, represent that. You're the first touch for your company, and you're trying to win the attention of, the same people that me and you probably prospect the same people all day, right? I don't know. All of us, we all are. So you got to remember that it's not just you. There's 20 others, 50 others doing the same thing. Yeah. So the only way to stand out is empower yourself, empower your skills, empower what works for you, and own that. And that's what we're doing in Rev League together. That's what we're doing with our members is you're coming there not to learn what everybody else is doing in the market. You're coming there to learn how to do your way in the market, and let us empower you and find your strengths and get you in that realm that you're creating your own pipeline and your own funnel, not what Google's telling everybody to do or LinkedIn.
100%. So if I'm going to sum it up in a couple of words, it's be true to you, add value to your prospect, and get out there and be creative. And that's it. That's it for today. Thanks for joining. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Fill the Funnel podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite platform, give us reviews, and tell all your friends about us. Till next time, happy hunting.